Hi, I'm Pastor Teso. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'd like you to subscribe and then, just click on the notification bell so that each time we have a new video out there, you will be the first person to be able to watch. And it's going to be wonderful. Remember that we did say that this channel is dedicated in dealing with the subject of sex in the Christian community. And that's just what we are out to try to bring help to a very important subject that is looked down upon but is destroying the church gradually. We all are in it in the subject of sex, but the church pretends as if nothing is happening. The people are now suffering so many things. We've just had a confession of a very known man of God within the country, Nigeria, Pastor Joshua Ginla. And I want to let you know that that's not new. 2 years ago, it was the case of Pastor Chris Oyekilome. And people just treat it with levity, and now his matter is forgotten. Today, we're talking about Ginla. We don't know who amongst us will be the next. But the reason why things are this way is not addressed by the church. You will see so many of the churches draw programs, but you will hardly hear them talk about the beauty of sex and how it ought to be done. When you hear the word sex mentioned in church, they are either threatening people with hellfire or telling young people that they are going to be pregnant and unwanted pregnancy can lead to death or all manner of things. And so as a result, there are things going on. If you look at the man's confession critically, you will discover that for over 7 years, he's been preaching and doing miracles, and I somehow have lived very close to Pastor Joshua Ginla Church. And I can tell you that some of the things that you see on television that he talks about are true. There are people who have gotten testimonies in visiting his ministry, and that's why he has over 80,000 worshippers running through that place. But all of this was on when the issue of sex was battling, he was battling with the sex problem in his family. And I can tell you, if you just look back, just look back, look at the case of Pastor Chris. There are a lot of things that were swept under the carpet that people didn't really know what happened. But I've always told us that each time you hear the subject of divorce, 85% of what caused divorce is based on sex disagreement, either the insufficiency of it or the lack of pleasure enjoyed from the act of sex within such couples. So if you do not treat it well, it doesn't matter what we say about it. It doesn't matter how we try to paint people, label people. I know there are people out there who will want to eat Pastor Joshua Ginla raw, just paint him bad. But listen, there are many people who are involved in such things that have not caught the attention of the social media. Maybe they are not prominent enough. So what are we talking about? Is it not good for us to dig deep and find out why are such things happening? Why are we in such a mess? Why is the problem just defying any kind of solution? But I want to let you know, I have a book out there that is titled Sex in the Church. Listen, if you do not treat the subject of sex according as God intended, you will never have a solution regarding it in any marriage, whether it's the marriage of a bishop, marriage of a pastor, or an ordinary church member. As I called ordinary, please just permit that language. It's not because people are ordinary human beings, but I'm just talking about between the led and the clergy that leads these people. But listen, if we do not look at it deeply to find out why things are this way, we will never be able to provide a solution. And I want to let you know, if you are constantly on this channel, there are questions in your life currently now dealing with the subject of sex that I believe you will be able to find answers. For instance, just look at what happened when you talk about the case of Pastor Joshua Ginla. It is based on very powerful two forces that are within our body system: the law of happiness, the law of sex, the law of willpower. God gave us our will. If a person is not happy for a very long time and he just assess his life or assess her life and discover that what's even there to miss, Let the worst happen. If you listen to Pastor Joshua again, like confession, he didn't even bother about what in fact he told the people. You can insult me. You can say all the things that you want to say, but this is my decision. Why? When people look back at their lives and see that the time they have to live ahead of them is so short, they choose happiness. I'm telling you, they will push that happiness in support of their willpower. Whatever is against it, they will not even consider it. That's why you will wonder some people work in places or do things that you can call luxury. They are in luxury positions, but they will just throw those things away and go for things that you will be wondering. But you know what? Man is designed that when he senses the danger, especially the danger of death, or look at the close end of his life here, he will begin to evaluate the things that he's doing. And one of the greatest desire of every man, every woman is happiness. When people get to a point where they have a choice to take their happiness and not mind what else will happen, I'm telling you, they will go for their happiness. That's when the willpower of man come together with the sex power of man. They will push in a direction where the opposite will be divorce and cheating. The only way we can solve this is to get the basic guidelines of God's principles dealing with the subject of sex in the Christian community. And I have that laid out in about 6 books. But just get this book, Sex in the Church. We've been fighting seriously. Amazon has refused to allow us publish because we are from Nigeria. They said the corrupt practices of Nigerian people have made it difficult for them to allow Nigerians to publish books directly now on Amazon. But at least I've published that book on SME Market Hub, which is powered by GTB Bank. If you get in there, you will find the book. The title is simple, Sex in the Church. And once you get in there, you will be able to find it and the costs, how it will be delivered to you, all of that is there. Please, I encourage you, don't be discouraged. Don't give up. Don't just throw your hands in the air and say, we are done. No, there are still solutions. I know that this is so strong. Do you know that God permitted divorce in the church because of what I'm talking about? When people's heart becomes so hardened because they have chosen to move in a direction where nothing can compromise their stand, God himself will even permit divorce. That's the interpretation of Matthew chapter 19, where Jesus told the Pharisees, God never intended for man to have a wife and then divorce the woman, but for the hardness of your heart. When you say hardness of the heart, it gives you a picture of casting a concrete. When you cast the concrete part of your building, or let's take it the floor of your room, you don't cast it with the intention of breaking it in the evening. It's from that picture Jesus was talking. When people's hearts are hardened, that they will not even allow the word of God to interfere with what they believe and what they should do. Jesus said, God told Moses, you know, Moses was not a drunk who would just step out there and say whatever he wants to say. No, God said, go and tell them, give her a letter of divorce, let him go. This is the reason why you see you are in a relationship, the man is not happy with the sex within the marriage or any other thing that could be. Just remember, our main focus in this channel is always on the subject of sex, because we believe 85% of marriages that end in divorce end with a very powerful point of unhappy sex life is usually the big issue. 85% of divorces or divorce in the church have to do with the one partner not being satisfied with the sexual conduct of that marriage. So we are not out of place dealing with this. So God has to permit that to happen. Why? Somebody is not satisfied today, he complains, you give an excuse. It may be the man, it may be the woman. Tomorrow you give, and people live that way for years. Then one day they wake up with a realization. How long will I live my life? Will I continue this way? No. Then the force of their willpower hits in the direction where they want a pleasurable life, a life of happiness. The next thing, what's behind that is just divorce and cheating. Some who feel that the relationship has so much at stake. Cheating simply means someone stepping out to have his sexual satisfaction somewhere because he knows that the person he is relating with now, they have so much at stake that he will not want to scatter the relationship. So he goes out to cheat and return and pretend as if nothing is happening. But if you go through my book, Sex in the Church, all of that is handled. And I look forward in, you know, seeing you again on this channel, and it's going to be a wonderful time. God bless you. Just turn in here at any time, and you will have content that I promise you by the grace of God will transform your life. God bless you. Have a wonderful time. See you on YouTube.